They were just two best friends out for an early morning jog. No phones, no wallets, just fresh air and familiar trails. But by 8 a.m., they had vanished without a trace. Make sure to hit the subscribe button below. For more chilling stories, grab your bowl of popcorn and relax as we dive right into it. Marlow Ridge, Colorado was the kind of town where nothing ever really happened until it did. Nestled at the foot of the Rockies, this tight-knit community was known for its pine forests, postcard views, and trails that locals could walk blindfolded. It was here that 22-year-old Alyssa Brenner and her best friend, 21-year-old Naomi Clark, set off for a routine 5-mile run on September 8, 2020. The two were inseparable since high school, both athletic, bright, and deeply rooted in their small-town values. They trained together for marathons, ran the same trails, and always let someone know when they were heading out. That morning was no different. Alyssa texted her mom at 6:04 a.m., headed out for a quick run with Naomi. Be back by 8. But 8 o'clock came and went. So did 9 o'clock, and by 10:15, the unease in Marlow Ridge began to bloom into something darker. The route they took was known as the Ridge Loop, part trail, part gravel road, winding through a wooded preserve just outside town. Their usual path would have brought them back before breakfast. But when Alyssa's mother, Eleanor Brenner, drove the loop searching for them, all she found was Naomi's white Jeep still parked at the trailhead. 2 bottles of water sat in the cup holders. The back seat held a small gym bag, untouched. But there was something else, something off. On the dashboard sat Naomi's phone, face down. That was unusual. Naomi always ran with it for music, safety tracking, and pictures. Panic was now inevitable. By 1 p.m., search parties were combing every inch of the Ridge Loop. Local police, state troopers, and even forest rangers joined the effort. Drones, search dogs, and helicopters were deployed. But there were no footprints off-trail. No signs of struggle. No blood. No clothing. Nothing. It was as if Alyssa and Naomi had simply melted into the morning air. Rumors began to swirl. Some said a mountain lion attack, though experts dismissed it. Others whispered about a serial predator using the trail system to stalk young women. One disturbing theory even suggested the girls had staged their own disappearance. But those who knew Alyssa and Naomi knew better. These girls had plans, college transfers, races, internships. They had no reason to run from anything. So what had taken them? 5 days later, on September 13th, something surfaced, or rather, someone found something. A local hiker named Daniel Morse was exploring a less-traveled path 2 miles from the Ridge Loop when his dog, Scout, began barking furiously near a fallen pine. There, hidden beneath a mound of pine needles, was a small black smartwatch. It had been scratched and cracked, but the initials NB, engraved on the back, made it unmistakable. Authorities retrieved the device and confirmed it was synced to Naomi's phone. The GPS data was fragmented, but what they could recover chilled investigators to the core. At 6:48 a.m., the watch had recorded a sharp increase in heart rate, then a sudden, rapid movement, roughly 100 feet off-trail, before the data abruptly stopped. Naomi's heart rate had skyrocketed, then nothing. As detectives dug deeper, surveillance footage from a nearby ranger outpost turned up a second clue. Though the timestamp was off by a few minutes, the camera captured a dark-colored pickup truck parked near the Ridge Loop around the same time Naomi and Alyssa would have begun their run. The truck didn't belong to anyone local. Its license plates were partially obscured, either mud-covered or intentionally altered. But its presence was unexplained. It was there when the girls arrived. It was gone when they vanished. Witnesses recalled seeing a man near the vehicle that morning. Mid-30s, lean build, wearing a gray hoodie pulled tightly over his head. He kept to himself and never used the trail. The question now wasn't if he was connected, but how. The deeper investigators dug, the more unsettling the case became. Just 1 year earlier, in a small Montana town 600 miles north, 2 female runners disappeared under similar circumstances. Their bodies were never found, but one of their phones pinged briefly near a logging road before going silent. That logging road? Less than 20 minutes from where a man named Carter Ryland had once worked seasonal construction. Guess who also had ties to Colorado? Carter Ryland again. In fact, Ryland had lived just 45 minutes from Marlow Ridge 2 years earlier. He had a record, nothing violent, but enough to raise suspicion. Trespassing, unlawful surveillance. He was never convicted of a major crime, but he was known to law enforcement. He also owned a dark blue Chevy pickup. Despite mounting suspicion, Ryland had an alibi, one that, frustratingly, could not be easily disproven. He claimed he was in Nevada visiting family. There were no digital receipts, no video evidence, and his family, vague at best. Meanwhile, the trail went cold again. Alyssa's and Naomi's families held vigils, press conferences, and created a national campaign to keep the pressure on. Billboards went up. Podcasts covered the case. True crime communities dug in. But without new leads, the pain deepened. A year passed, then two. Eventually, the case faded from the headlines. Until one snowy morning, almost 3 years later, when a demolition crew clearing an abandoned hunting cabin in northern Idaho found something no one was prepared for. In the cabin's basement, buried beneath a false wall, were 2 pairs of worn running shoes. One in Naomi's size, one in Alyssa's. Next to them, a piece of red fabric, shredded, faded, but unmistakably the same tank top Alyssa had been wearing the day she vanished. Authorities were called immediately, but by the time they arrived, the cabin was on fire. The quiet town of Brookhaven hadn't seen this level of unease in years. The kind of town where front doors were left unlocked, and neighbors greeted each other with warmth, until the morning Lauren Daniels and Megan Price vanished without a trace. Their story had already gripped the nation. 2 best friends, both 22, avid runners, who set out for their usual morning jog and never returned. Their last known location? A wooded trail behind Clear Water Park, the only trace left behind. Megan's broken smartwatch found half buried in the mud near the southern fork. As days turned into weeks, search parties dwindled. But then, something strange happened. On the 16th day after their disappearance, Brookhaven police received an anonymous tip. The caller refused to give a name but insisted they had seen a dark SUV parked suspiciously near the trailhead on the day the girls vanished. The voice, trembling, mentioned a man, mid-40s, heavy-set, pacing outside the vehicle. He'd been seen several times in the area that week, often alone and always watching. Police reviewed all surveillance footage they could find in the vicinity. A blurry traffic cam did, in fact, capture a dark SUV driving down Lakeshore Drive. Timestamped just 12 minutes after Lauren and Megan were last seen by a jogger. The problem? The license plate was unreadable. Worse, no one had seen the SUV since. As investigators dug deeper into the lives of the missing girls, something unexpected emerged from Lauren's background. A restraining order. 2 years earlier, Lauren had filed a protective order against a former professor, Dr. Thomas Weller, at her community college. She accused him of harassment after she rejected several advances. At the time, it was dismissed due to lack of evidence, but her friends remembered how she'd stopped taking night classes and even switched majors. Dr. Weller had left the college shortly after. His current whereabouts? Unknown. Brookhaven PD sent out a Bolo, be on the lookout, for Weller's known vehicle, a black Chevy Tahoe. Although not the exact make as the SUV in the grainy footage, it was close enough to raise suspicions. On day 23, park rangers combing the deeper woods retrieved an old trail camera mounted high in a pine tree, one they had overlooked during earlier searches. Its memory card was damaged by moisture, but the forensic team managed to recover several images. Most were of animals, deer, coyotes, the occasional hiker. But one image, timestamped 6:43 a.m. on the day of the disappearance, showed 2 figures jogging past. Lauren and Megan. Another image, snapped minutes later, captured a shadowy third figure trailing far behind them. The figure appeared to be wearing a hoodie and jeans, not standard running attire. The public never saw the image, but whispers of it ignited panic across the town. Theories ran wild: a stalker, a serial predator, or even someone they knew. Amid mounting frustration, Megan's older sister, Jamie, went public. In an emotional interview, She described a message Megan had sent her the night before she vanished. "I'm starting to feel like someone is watching us when we run. Lauren thinks I'm paranoid. I just have a weird feeling lately." Jamie had brushed it off at the time. Now that text haunted her. Public pressure on the police grew unbearable. National media camped outside the police department. Internet sleuths dissected every known detail, forming Reddit threads with titles like Brookhaven's Silent Predator and The Vanishing Joggers. Then, something unexpected landed on the doorstep of a local news station. A yellow envelope, unmarked, sealed with electrical tape. Inside was a handwritten note. "They were too close to something they didn't understand. You won't find them where you think. Look beneath the red soil. No name, no fingerprints, no return address." The police tried tracing the handwriting but found no match. Forensic analysis of the envelope revealed trace amounts of clay-like red soil. Not native to the park, but found in an abandoned brickyard 10 miles north. Search teams rushed to the brickyard. A bone in the rubble. The abandoned brickyard had long been forgotten. A ruin of collapsed walls, broken machinery, and knee-high weeds. But within hours of searching, cadaver dogs signaled interest near a rusted conveyor shaft. There, partially buried under brick dust and rubble, was a single bone, human, confirmed by initial analysis. DNA tests would take days. Investigators roped off the area. Excavation crews were brought in. Tensions in Brookhaven hit a boiling point. Was this Lauren or Megan? While the forensic team processed the brickyard scene, a new volunteer search party ventured into the woods behind the original trail, this time looking for hidden paths or unusual terrain. That's when one of them noticed it. A narrow, almost imperceptible path that veered off the main trail and dipped sharply into a ravine. It was overgrown and blocked by several fallen logs. Following it led them to a forgotten concrete storm drain, cracked open. Inside, they found scraps of fabric, a necklace, and what looked like claw marks etched into the walls. And then a signal. Late that night, a park ranger monitoring one of the surveillance zones got an alert. Motion had been detected in the woods, in a location previously cleared and deemed safe. When authorities arrived, they found fresh footprints, barefoot, small, and on a rock near the water's edge was a message scratched into the surface. Still alive. What really happened in the woods that morning? Is someone playing a cruel game? Or is one of the girls still out there, waiting to be found? And who sent that envelope? And why? What was once a community known for quiet streets and peaceful trails had become a town haunted by two names, Lauren Daniels and Megan Price. Nearly a month had passed since their disappearance. But now, a series of chilling discoveries pointed to something far more sinister than anyone had imagined. At the center of it all were two clues no one could ignore. The cryptic, still alive message carved into stone at the creek's edge, and the human bone found buried in the abandoned brickyard. Both had shocked investigators, but only one could offer answers, and they were about to get them. When the forensic lab finally returned the results on the bone fragment recovered from the brickyard, detectives braced for the worst. It was Megan Price. Her DNA matched within seconds. A clean profile, pulled from dental records and hair samples her family had provided weeks ago. What made the discovery even more disturbing was the condition of the bone. It had been burned. Forensics revealed it was subjected to extreme heat, likely from an industrial furnace. This wasn't a natural death. Someone had tried to destroy her. But if Megan was dead, who carved still alive into the stone? Could Lauren still be out there? 2 days later, police received a call from a storage facility located just outside town. A renter had failed to pay for his unit for over a month. When management finally opened it for repossession, they found something alarming. Inside the small metal space were charred pieces of clothing, a damaged burner phone, and a journal, filled with entries written in chaotic, frantic handwriting. One page read, "They kept running, but I was faster. She saw me. She knew. I told her to stop screaming. I didn't mean to hurt her." Another entry simply said, "The other one's still quiet, still breathing." That entry was dated 2 days after the girls had gone missing. Detectives traced the unit to a man named Raymond Tuller, a former maintenance worker at Brookhaven College who was fired 2 years earlier for harassment. The same time Lauren had filed her complaint against Dr. Weller. And the SUV from the grainy trail cam footage? Registered under a shell company owned by Tuller's cousin. As detectives closed in on Tuller, another breakthrough came. A young boy hiking with his father discovered an underground shaft hidden behind loose rocks in the ravine near the trail. It led to a collapsed root cellar connected to what appeared to be a system of old drainage tunnels beneath the park, dating back to the 1950s. The smell was overpowering. Search crews lowered cameras into the shaft and confirmed something was there. Hours later, they found a small makeshift room underground, lined with discarded food wrappers, water bottles, and a thin mattress made of burlap sacks. On the wall, smeared in ash or dirt, was a handprint. Then, they heard movement. Lauren Daniels was found barely alive, curled up in a corner, dehydrated and malnourished but breathing. Her body was covered in bruises, her fingernails chipped and bloody. Evidence of her attempts to claw her way out of the concrete tomb she'd been trapped in for nearly 4 weeks. Her first words to responders: "He's still out there." The ambulance rushed her to Brookhaven General. News spread fast, drawing crowds to the hospital. But Lauren's family was whisked away to a private wing. Doctors said it was a miracle she was alive. Yet the real horror lay in what she told police during a recorded statement later that night. They had just rounded the southern fork of the trail when a man appeared out of nowhere, swinging a tire iron. Megan was hit first. Lauren tried to run, but the man tackled her, binding her arms with zip ties. He wore a mask, said almost nothing. She was thrown into the back of a vehicle, blindfolded, and taken somewhere underground. She didn't know where, but she remembered the smell of smoke, old concrete, and something metallic. Lauren said he came every few days, dropped food, stared at her, sometimes spoke to her, other times just watched. One night, he whispered, "You're smarter than the other one. Don't scream this time." She believed he killed Megan in front of her. She tried to block it out, but Lauren didn't break. She waited, and when she found a loose stone in the drainage wall, she used it to carve her message. With Lauren's account, police launched a full manhunt for Raymond Tuller. His face was broadcast nationally. Tips flooded in from across the state. Then, an anonymous call came in. Same voice as before, whispering only 3 words: "Check the lake." Authorities rushed to Silverpine Lake, just 12 miles outside town. Divers were deployed. What they pulled out changed everything. A barrel. Inside, burned clothes, zip ties, and a driver's license. Lauren Daniels. But no Tuller. And then silence. Raymond Tuller vanished. His bank accounts untouched. His apartment abandoned. No digital footprint, no cell phone activity. It was as if he had dissolved into thin air. But the public wasn't buying it. Rumors spread that someone in law enforcement tipped him off, that he had help. Some even speculated Dr. Weller might have been involved, or that there was a deeper, darker network at play. Lauren, though safe, would never be the same. In her final interview before leaving Brookhaven to start a new life, she simply said, "There are people you don't think are watching, but they are. And once you see their face, you never forget it." To this day, Megan Price's murder remains officially unsolved. Raymond Tuller was never caught, and the woods behind Clearwater Park remain closed. Overgrown, fenced off, and silent. But hikers still say they sometimes hear footsteps. A whisper, a woman's voice, faint, echoing through the trees.